Welcome to a very windy edition of The Bad Belly. I'm Charlotte, and today we are starting the hospital talks. This is day one. I thought we would just cover a tiny bit of background and then just talk a bit about what happened the day that all of this really got started. So I was 32 weeks, 4 days pregnant with our third son. It had been a pretty tough pregnancy. Not as hard as my pregnancy before that. My first pregnancy, I had preeclampsia, and I was on bed rest for a month, the last month. My second pregnancy, I had polyhydramnios, which is when you have too much amniotic fluid. So that can get a little bit uncomfortable, and you get quite big. And I was already quite big. I was pretty heavy set. Well, I was fat. With all three of my pregnancies, I was about $185 when I had my first son, $220 when I had my second, and I was just under $250, $245-ish when I had my third son. So being that big didn't help matters too much. It also helped to mask some of the symptoms of my necrotizing pancreatitis. Because I had escalating morning sickness with each of my pregnancies, it just got progressively worse. I kind of took it as par for the course. I viewed it as just the normal price to pay. And I think too, having lost 3 pregnancies before these 3 pregnancies, I was just very grateful and very happy to be pregnant. And I was so focused on all of the positives that physically it took a lot to kind of override that joy. But yeah, my pregnancies were pretty miserable otherwise. With my third pregnancy, I was sick all the time. This particular morning, I was feeling particularly shitty. I woke up feeling really bad. I called my mother-in-law probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I just laid down on the floor at the top of our entry stairs, and I waited for her to come. She came and got me to bed. Called my mom, who came over to help with the boys. I was perfectly content to just sleep, because when I was asleep I wasn't vomiting. Vomiting is one of the big hallmarks of pancreatitis, and I couldn't stop. Sean was called in. I'm not really sure of the time. I thought he came home and took me to the hospital at night, because in my memory it was dark. It definitely was not dark. I think it was actually mid-afternoon. But I was so in and out that it just seemed dark. So my memories of driving to the hospital that night are all of driving in the dark, but it's not right. So we got to the local ER, and they were busy trying to figure out what was going on. It was in the ER that I started losing time for the first time, really. I don't remember a lot of that day, but I think most of that is just because I was asleep. But once I got to the hospital, I started blacking out. And I was conscious, like I was talking to people, I was interacting. I just have no memory of that. And that's a trend that's gonna really keep going over the next few months. So they were trying to figure out what was wrong. My blood work was really weird. How I was presenting was really weird. I did not know what was happening. I was pretty much no help at all. I remember being asked if I was having contractions and saying nope, that I definitely was not having contractions. And then being told that yeah, I definitely was having contractions. Windy. And then I really start losing time. I remember getting upset and feeling really panicky. And then nothing for a while. I remember being told that a helicopter was coming, and Sean left. And the helicopter was late. It was 20 minutes late to come and get me. I was in and out that whole time. So Sean beat me down to the hospital. I remember very distinctly being raced through the halls of our local hospital and taken out to the helicopter. I don't remember much of the ride to the city. It wasn't very long. I woke up a few times and didn't realize where I was or what was happening, and then I would sort of remember what was happening, or somebody would tell me, and then I would wake up again. I don't remember being unloaded from the helicopter, but I remember I must have been in a room or something and just being swarmed by people, and everyone was talking all at once, and it was very chaotic and very frenzied and panicked. And someone told me I was going for a C-section, and I don't remember much, but I remember fighting that. I didn't know what was happening or where I was, but I knew I didn't want a C-section. I was just so confused. I didn't understand how grave things actually were at that time. And so Sean consented to everything, and then I was raced through another corridor and into an OR that I remember being in momentarily. I remember meeting Marcus, the anesthesiologist. You'll meet him again. And that's it. It was full general crash C-section. I was out within seconds, and he was out moments later. Sean says that I screamed for quite some time because he was just outside in the hallway, and he was listening to me scream, and then it was just silence. I don't remember. I remember screaming in the ICU, but I don't remember screaming in the OR. Pancreatitis can be very painful, and I was in labor, so there's that. I guess that's kind of the end, actually, of day one, because our son was born at 12:05. He's doing very well. Sorry, I don't want to leave this on any sort of a cliffhanger because it involves a baby. He was in the NICU for 42 days, and then he went home. So yeah, he's really fantastic. His care was excellent. He was a very big baby, and that definitely worked in his favor. So he's done extremely well, and it's not something that I feel really comfortable talking about. I'm definitely going to be talking about my feelings with regard to his birth and not being there really for the first 42 days of his life. I only saw him a handful of times before he was discharged. I don't remember meeting him for the first time. I don't. It's very hard to say, even though it is my reality and I lived it, and I keep living it. But yeah, it's a hard thing to be separated from your kids, and it was hard being separated from all of them. Perhaps especially being separated from him, because we never had a chance to bond physically once he was delivered. So that was really hard, and I was very much I co-slept with his two big brothers, and I nursed them. I nursed them both. I was able to do that with both of them until they were a year or a little over a year. So missing out on those experiences with him was something that was really hard for me. But to respect his privacy, I won't be talking about his experience in the NICU or what that was like for him or his dad. I also can't comment on being a NICU parent. I can't relate to that. I wasn't present for any of that time. It was a constant nightmare for Sean and everyone else. But I was so sick that I couldn't be brought to him. He couldn't leave the NICU. So it really it all fell on Sean's shoulders to deal with that. I was only actually in the NICU, I think, twice, maybe 3 times while he was there. So it's not something that I have a lot of experience with, but I certainly have a lot of compassion for anybody who has gone through that or is going through that. Anyway, I'm actually getting out of the wind before I start having lawn chairs and stuff launched at me or my hair gets any worse. Thank you for coming along for the ride. This was day 1. I will not be doing a day-by-day breakdown of my 5 months in hospital. I can't, because I don't know a day-to-day breakdown. And also, I think it would be super boring, so it'll probably just be thematic, or I don't know. We'll figure something out. If you've got any ideas, put them in the comments. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much.